Yeah, I'm taking
That was just the
names.
first practice.
Did it become dinner?
Squad.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the Evanston History Center at the Charles Dawes House. My name is Krista. I am the Director of Public Engagement. And I always like to start off just by a show of hands. Is this anyone's first time at the Dawes House? Wow, that's a lot. Yay, welcome, welcome. Well, very briefly, the Evanston History Center is very grateful and privileged to be the caretakers and have our offices based in this historic national landmark home. This was the home of Charles Dawes, who was Vice President of the United States under Calvin Coolidge in the 1920s. He was ambassador to the UK. He won a Nobel Peace Prize. He had a top 10 musical hit. And he raised his family here in Evanston. So if you'd like to learn more, of course, you're welcome to explore the house this evening. But Thursdays through Sundays from 1 to 4, we do house tours where you can get from our trained docents lots of interesting information about the history and the architecture of the home. We also hope to have you back for other programs. There's some information in the front. Feel free to grab me afterwards if you have any questions. We have our walking tour season coming up, outdoor walking tours around Evanston. We have our big house walk on Mother's Day, and we do lots of other programs like this, lectures and concerts and things like that. So the best way to keep abreast of what we're doing is sign up for our mailing list and also maybe become an Evanston History Center member. I also want to recognize that the land that this house is on has a history that goes back much farther than Charles Dawes. We are on the unceded ancestral lands of the Potawatomi, the Ojibwe, and the Odawa peoples, and we remember that and we honor that history when we do use this house. Even though we're based in the home of one historic Evanston, we take seriously our role to collect and share histories of all of Evanston, and quite honestly to make up for decades when historical institutions such as ourselves didn't really do a great job at that. So that's something that's really important to the Evanston History Center to reflect our community. This event this evening is part of a series that we've started this year called Home Evanston. It's an exploration of home from many, many different angles. We're based here in this historic home, so some of it is maybe architectural and structural based, but it's also about the meaning of home and how people come to a place, in this case Evanston, at different time periods, and make community and find a sense of belonging and safety, and even in spite of the barriers that might exist to that. When I started here a little less than 2 years ago, one of the things I really wanted to do was a poetry reading. So I was really, really happy when I reached out to RHINO Poetry that they were on board to do this. I don't think it's the first. I don't know if there's anybody who knows when we've done a poetry reading, and the Evanston History Center is over 100 years old, so there's quite possible that we did do a poetry reading in the past at some point, but not in the near past. So hopefully it will not be. It will be a continued thing that we do. And this particular event is also thanks to the support of the Evanston Arts Council. So I think it's a really wonderful thing for us as the Evanston History Center to be supporting an Evanston, or to be collaborating with an Evanston-based poetry house. And it's RHINO's 50th anniversary this year, which is amazing. So thank you to all of the RHINO poets that you'll hear more about in a minute, and to Naoko and Virginia who helped coordinate this. So there's a bathroom over to the left if you need a bathroom. Obviously there's refreshments if you didn't see them in the front. And then I just wanted to, I think they're selling these, but this is my RHINO Poetry tote bag, which I think is the coolest thing ever because it says poetry changes everything, right? And I've just been thinking about that so much. I'm like, poetry, does it change everything? But I firmly believe that we'll all come away changed in some moment, and in some way from this event. So thank you all for sharing. Thank you especially for the poets for sharing for what they're about to share, and enjoy your evening. And I'm going to pass it on to Naoko and Virginia.
Hello. Can you hear me okay, or do I need to hold this? Can you hear me now? Better. Hey everybody, how are you?
I see a lot of familiar faces. This feels like a RHINO reunion, but a lot of faces I don't know, so thank you also for being here, and thanks to the Evanston History Center, and especially Krista, whose brainchild this event was, and for inviting us to be here. And I just have to share an anecdote that just occurred to me when Krista was talking. I gave that tote bag to a really good friend who lives in Washington State, and then she emailed me, she wrote me a handwritten letter, and she said, I'm afraid to wear the tote bag because someone's going to come up to me and says, what do you mean poetry changes everything? How can you prove poetry changes everything? And I said, just wear it, and if someone comes up to you and asks that, tell them to go to rhinopoetry.org and send us an email and ask us to explain, and we'll be happy to dialogue with them. So again, my name is Virginia Bell, and in addition to being one of the many editors of RHINO, I've been an Evanston resident since 2007. So this is also my home for this last chapter of my life. Not the last, most recent. And in fact, when I moved here, I was looking for a way to connect to local poets, and I learned about RHINO. I started going to the free workshops that at that time were held in the Evanston Public Library, and that's how I met Ralph Hamilton, who will be reading tonight and who became my mentor. And then I started going to the reading series at Brothers Cake Coffee House that was hosted by Chris Green. And, it changed my life. And I've been involved with RHINO ever since, and it's been the gift of a lifetime to be part of this crash. We call ourselves a crash of RHINOs.
As RHINO should.
As we should, right. So as Krista said, it is our 50th anniversary. So I know we're all eager to hear from the poets, but because it's our 50th anniversary, I want to give you just a little mini history of RHINO. All the histories of RHINO are oral histories, right? And they're different based on who you ask. So this isn't the definitive version, right? This is a version. What I've heard is that in 1976, a group of women in the Chicago area formed a writing group to help each other build their careers as writers. And pretty soon they decided to invite the public and hold workshops at public libraries for free. And they called those workshops the Poetry Forum. And that's still RHINO's legal name. So, if you're with the IRS, know that we have that. And then the rumor is that during one of their hangout meeting, I think of these as sort of consciousness raising, 70s women's groups. That's how I like to think of them. One of the women doodled the animal rhino on a piece of paper just randomly. And so they decided to create kind of a zine, a circular, and literally staple their poems together and hand them out to people they knew and call it RHINO, right? And draw rhinos on the cover. And it's amazing to me that those humble origins have grown into a journal that is nationally and internationally recognized, and always, these days, always in the top 100 of journals in the United States. In fact, in last year's one of the respected rankings, RHINO was ranked 42, and is still an all-volunteer nonprofit collective and a labor of love. I think that's an incredible achievement. So I have a few more things to say. Thanks for your patience. I wanted to say that those workshops, of course, were suspended during COVID, right? At the Evanston Public Library, and the readings as well, like everything was in the world at that time. And so we offered things online, occasional workshops, occasional readings. And when everything opened back up a few years later, we decided that we would shift our events to kind of a pop-up format and have some of them in Evanston, some of them in different neighborhoods in Chicago, some of them in different cities and different states. And I think that has its challenges, but I think that the result has been a deepening of RHINO's and even Evanston's connections to our neighbors, in a figurative sense as well as a literal sense. And it's made RHINO, which was already a welcoming community, an even more inclusive community with a wider sense of belonging. So our origins are here, our P.O. box is here, but our doors keep opening wider and wider and wider and reinventing the sense of home. I also just wanted to say on a more serious note that anniversaries are a time for celebration. We're all here to celebrate these incredible poets you're going to hear, and this house, and this history of Evanston, but also to reflect. And especially in this context, you know, we all know how active ICE was last year, still is. One data source says that over 4,000 people in Illinois were arrested by ICE last year. Several of those people in Evanston. And we're in the Dawes house, and there's a lot of progressive history associated with the figure of Dawes and with this house. Good stuff. But the 1920s in the United States was also a time of an immigration policy called severe restrictionism. And many of you probably know the Congress passed the Emergency Quota Act in 1921, the Immigration Act in 1924, the Asian Exclusion Act in 1924, and the Labor Appropriations Acts of 1924, which created the Border Patrol Agency. And, you know, we are back in a time like that right now. And I just think we should reflect on that and notice that we're celebrating this space, but maybe we're also appropriating this space, respectfully I say that, Krista, to speak poetry to power, right? And take back, reinvent home as much as we can. Okay, so lastly, I'll just say that because of this context, all of us at RHINO know that you have chosen to spend your precious time and energy here for the next hour, when there's so much more that calls for your urgent attention and action, and we appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for caring about poetry and the role that it has to play. So, without further ado, I want you to meet Naoko Fujimoto. Naoko is a brilliant poet and translator, a senior editor with RHINO and RHINO's Translation Initiative editor, and she'll be introducing all the poets. Welcome, Naoko.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you so much for coming. And Krista and Evanston History Museum, thank you so much for having us. So, our first reader tonight is standout poet, beloved teacher, Chris Green. Chris is an Evanston resident and was an editor with RHINO in the early 2000s, and the host of RHINO poetry readings at Brother K Coffee House in South Evanston. When poets arrived to sign up for the open mic, Chris would ask them to answer a fun and random question, like, what is your favorite costume to wear on Halloween? And then share the answer with the audience as he brought each poet up to the mic. Chris also mentored so many of us RHINO we got involved later, including Ralph Hamilton, who you will hear in a few minutes. Please read more about Chris in the printed bio and welcome him to the stage. Chris Green.
Okay, thank you, Naoko. Thank you for organizing this, and Virginia, thank you too. Yes, I think that's good. I'm so old, I don't even remember when I was with RHINO. I think it was in the late 90s. Alice George was the main editor. There's Alice right there. She was amazing. Alice was the boss. Actually, Deb Rosen was the boss, because our meetings were at her house, and if you leaned back in one of her chairs, you got in trouble. I always did it. I couldn't help myself. But probably the best things that I did for RHINO was meeting Virginia once at Brothers King, saying, hey, you should check out RHINO, or meeting Ralph and saying, you should get involved with RHINO. Okay, well, I'll read some poems from this book, The Dead Zoo, 7 minutes of poems. But I'll first start with the preface because it's a little, the frame for the book's a little complicated. The Dead Zoo is what Dubliners call their natural history museum. Floored, it's such an Irish thing to call your natural history museum the Dead Zoo. Floor-to-ceiling taxidermy, all manner of world animals who have come and gone and then come back to pose as their former selves. It's this book's architectural equivalent. This book can be seen as one poem, a sonnet crown, where the last line of each sonnet becomes the first line of the next. However, these sonnets and the links between each are typically frayed. The book is more torn web than solid crown, a web you walk through and upon looking back, see a human-shaped hole through what was once whole. Each poem also speaks from the perspective of an extinct or threatened plant, animal, person, or place. And note that a different poet is quoted at the end of each sonnet. Poetry is perpetually endangered, but in the coming years, as base survival supplants the luxury of living, no creature will be more rare than the useless artist. How's that for depressing? I wish John said he brought some happy poems. I did not bring happy poems. These are like the least happy poems. Okay, I don't think I'm reading any in order so you don't get the sonnet crown little effect, but I'll start with the first poem, American Bison. Out of everyone who's ever been shot, we have been shot a lot. A herd solitude until the first tide of settlers caught us by surprise. Then, like a poet, I remember suddenly waiting to die. Now heaven is stuffed with bison, all of us non-violent and nearsighted, stumbling into white chairs and tables, apologizing for our size. So far, I miss being alive, and I'm thinking, I should say something. But my tongue was taken, traded for a gun, and so I hiss this to you, whoever you are, speak, even when the world seems just a heap of broken things. This is rice, so I wrote a poem from the perspective of rice. I dare you to write a poem from the perspective of a plant. It's very challenging. A little white ghost, I'm outspread but empty in my white dress. Did you know the more carbon in the air, the less nutrition in plants? I can feel it as clouds and then an untender rain. I'm sightless but sensitive to lies, and my flavor is of grain erased like a blank page I might give back to the reader with my regret. As rice, I am powerless. 2 billion of the poorest pots are waiting to boil. And so Orpheus growls from the heart, holds out his bowl. So many, too many women, so many children, skin and bone. Here's, this one's called Darwin's Finch. Since life is money-like, lavish and dark, songbirds are captured for high-stakes singing competitions. At JFK, a man was arrested with 35 live finches stuffed inside hair curlers attached to his clothing. No profuse strains of unpremeditated art, not Shelley's poetic lark. I compete on melody, duration, volume. In NYC, it's the first to 50 chirps. My voice is shaky, my breath is caught. Less song, more a long, jumbled warbling on human frailties. Or it's a public declamation about leaves and how seriously I feel. And like the crumpling future, I end with a downward slur, the indifferent chirping of this world. Okay, this next one is based on something that actually happened at the San Francisco Zoo. This is called a Siberian tiger. Desperation, dissatisfaction, disillusion, the pitiless zoo life. No one to kill until one night the intrigue of 3 drunk young men. They hurled grim insults and stones into my home. They strutted away like gold medal winners in the little arrogant prick Olympics. They turned a corner, and in what was a hysterical man caught in a dilemma he could not understand kind of scene, I was there, waiting. As nature will, I'd clawed over the pitiful wall. One boy began waving his arms and screamed, "What do you want?" I took one of his arms and said nothing. To the other two, I promised Shakespeare's terrors of the earth. But soon they became so tiny in my perception, I lost interest. I looked to my companion, the conspiring moon, for solace. Of course, before long, I was shot beneath her bone-white glare. Murdered tiger, wounded poet, beware, I rise and I eat men like air. So yeah, they couldn't figure out how the tiger got out, but it clawed up that, they have those trenches, and it just kind of used its claws as like climbing pitons and got out. Yay, tiger. Just a few more. This one, mountain gorilla. Excuse me, aren't you the extraordinary evil in ordinary men? We met at a party. I was the gorilla in the room who asked what you do. You paraded and purred, entrepreneur. You sounded so heedless I beat my chest. Uncomparable, you admired my dark muscularity, wondered about the market's palate for ape meat among global elites. Tear off your limbs? The thought crossed my body. But a gorilla believes deeply in peace, sits, chews, and gathers haiku. 1,000,000 acres of bow trees and not one Buddha. Okay, one more. This is a common dolphin. Maybe this once I bark but don't follow, no sublimity in it. The cheap hoop work, aqua cuddling singles. Routinely he whistles and I fetch. Guess who doesn't like the boss? Everyone. What's my nature if I'm a silver retriever? To paraphrase Upton Sinclair, how can a dolphin understand something if his salary depends on his not understanding it? What's left is the drama, quietly swallowed. Fear leapt to, one more pat on the blowhole, one more mackerel's communion on the tongue. I flap my belly up, fin wave to the world, and so, goodbye all, goodbye dog. Thanks everybody.
Thank you, Chris. I want to be at the heaven stuffed with spices. Well, RHINO has the incredible honor of being the first publisher of our next reader's work. Jacob Science first published poem, Blue Line Incident. Appeared in RHINO 2006. Jacob was born and raised in Cicero, Illinois. Sometime after 2008, RHINO editors met him at the Guild Literary Complex event and asked him to consider joining the RHINO editorial team. He was active with RHINO first as associate editor, and then as a reader, then co-editor-in-chief until 2022. He's a leader in the Chicago poetry community and always part of RHINO Emeristas Crush. Please welcome Jacob.
Hello. Can you hear me? Sound good? Thank you. Thank you, Naoko, for Andrew. Thank you, Virginia, and RHINO Evanston History House for having us. It's an honor to be here. And like Ralph was saying, everyone's saying, it's like a little family reunion. And I miss you guys and love you guys very much. I wanted to start with a poem by another poet supposed to be here, but is not, and is out being celebrated and recognized by the Guild Complex. They're having their 35 Writers to Watch party And Marcy Ray Henry is there tonight celebrating being honored and recognized, as well as Ann Hudson. So shout outs to them. Big ups to them. So Marcy reached out and asked if I could read a poem in her honor, and this is what she sent. It's called I Can Assure You I See Color. 1. Even from a distance I can make out the creek off to the side, a flash of silver among rocks, heat rising from Overton Road. Occasionally a loose calf wanders wanting back in. We skip Spanish class or history, leave our shoes on the banks. The creek makes its way to the Arkansas, becoming something else. I can still see a few beers stashed in cool water, a glint of trout, chub, sunfish. An oath sworn on the creek doesn't have the same consequences as sworn on the Styx. So in case I forget, the Fountain Creek is now polluted, almost a killing ground. 2. I promise we're still fighting for the kindest, civilest rights. But here's the thing. Some think the struggle, black and white photographs, they don't recognize our movement flowed. We boycotted beer and grapes, got lampposts put in, pavement on the Lower East Side. Fuck the phrase, it is what it is. What else would it be? What it's not? And if you don't see color, how'd you know it was me? We'll have to fork this road, putting a foot here, putting a root there, riding with a thorn in the mouth. 3. The steel mill sits south of town, black and barely. No longer the saddle-making capital of the world, the town sold the mill to the Russians. So no need to be word bougie. Once called the Fontaine Q Bouillet, the boiling creek reaches the Gulf of Mexico. That's Marcy's. So I wanted to, thinking about the poems and like the theme of home, a lot of the poems that I'll be reading touch on or mention the word home, and that's the way I'm sort of settling this reading. I'm going to read one poem from my book, which is available for sale over there if you're interested, along with many other lovely books like John's and Chris and Ralph's. This is called GTA San Andreas. GTA stands for Grand Theft Autos, of course, which is wild that this poem or this video game came out like 20 years ago now, which makes me feel old. But, it's called GTA San Andreas / Berwyn, in parentheses, or Grove Street, bitch, after Mary Jo Bang. I play on Grove Street, live on Grove Avenue. Find me in the streets dressed in greens like groves. On the avenue, I'm a blue jeans type of guy. In the streets, never leave home without my 9mm. On the avenue, always carry my pen and wine key in case some fool blows his cork. My Uzi sings songs in the streets, rat-a-tat-tat. Birds chirp, chirp, chirp in trees on the avenue. Rolling down the street with my lady, what she wanna do? Let's do a drive-by. Rushing down the avenue with my baby, I'm hungry, let's do drive-through. I'll punch punks purple and blue in the streets, bleed them with bullets. On the avenue, I'll leave punching to punks dressed in blues, reds, etc., and accelerate home. This is called Light Signs, after Arthur Cease's book, Sightlines. I walk down a gravel road to a sign that reads, "The real world," and turn back from it. An orange butterfly lands on a dollop of cow dung. I hear the thud of lime green fruit fall from a black walnut tree. A tremble of goldfinches scatter from branches at the sound of my crunching steps. Red Angus cows rest in a copse alongside the road. From a balcony, I see a woodchuck waddle into a bush. A northern mockingbird casts a song against a gray sky. Warplanes execute drills for cheap thrills along Lake Michigan. A little girl walks through flames of a bombed-out school in Gaza. A sable serpent stretches out in a slant of sunlight. I bury a dead bunny in the yard, sockets empty of eyeballs. A cherry blossom petal falls and sticks to your chest like a hickey. A crow in a field delves into wet earth for worms. Masked men in boots and body armor abduct a family on the Magnificent Mile. A rooftop sniper pelts a pepper ball to a praying priest's skull. I pluck a green horned worm off a tomato vine and chuck it into a wet bucket. We see coyotes among gravestones and veer toward the living. On the way home, the train thwacks tree leaves off branches. This is called Startling the Starling. I heard house sparrows chirring loudly, louder even than when the cat stands upright on hind legs like a meerkat and peers at them through blind slats. I turned to the window and saw a starling atop the AC unit that sits above the bird's nest, wedged in a crevice below the unit and the window's concrete ledge. The small, round, brown sparrows shrieked and cheeped as a large, star-dusted bird made its way from top to bottom and out of view from the cat's eyes and mine. I wasn't sure if starlings eat other birds, and rather than let nature act naturally, I acted like a human and interfered with what I couldn't see but imagined. A bird with a galaxy swirling in its feathers, pecking at eggs, and hatching away at hatchlings with its beak and feet, while an egg bearer screeched from afar. I tapped and tapped on the plastic wings attached to the climate-corroding cooler and startled the starling away from the nest, along with the rest of the birds too. I went back to my desk and looked it up on a whirring computer. European starlings do eat other birds' eggs and compete with native species for nestings and raw material. How typical and colonial of the bird, introduced to North America in late 19th century and now permanent residents in all Illinois habitats. Now the cat returns to its sentry posts to gaze upon the sparrows resuming their chirruping, despite outsiders disrupting their nesting and song. This next poem doesn't really have the word home in it, but it's kind of about my wife, and my wife is my home. To quote Billy Joel, you are my home. It's after the famous Wallace Stevens poem, The Emperor of Ice Cream. This is called The Empress of Gelato. Call the roller of big blunts, the wispy, sleepy-eyed one, and order him to the bodega with the dog dreaming near candy bar shelves. The freezer lacks cold cream sweets in pint and bar form, and frozen blueberries will not crush her craving. Let there be sorbetto swirls of mucho mango. The only empress is the empress of gelato. She recovers from migraine blasts and itchy throat and thinks herself hideous. But oh, what luscious eyes and lips, magnificent nostrils. In her throne of pillows and blankets, she will eat, basking in the royal blue glow of television. Let her lap seat a squishmallow and un gato. The only empress is the empress of gelato. Thanks. I got one more. Sort of a newbie. It's called Bug Swatting, and there's an epigraph. It says, the epigraph is, the what choppers flying low over neighborhoods hour after hour. And that's Gabrielle Cavalcaresi. Fuck these helicopters with their bug-like build and rotor blades allowing for lift and thrust and loud hovering over homes day and night. They could never flit and fuck mid-air like dragonflies, nor dive into a hood of milkweed to lap up and suck the nectar within like bees be at it in summer. No, these city chompers are pesky and prickly, nasty like flies circling around your plate of carne asada and rice at the cookout, or a wasp dizzy high off artificial sugar sitting on the rim of a can of Coke and riled up to sting anyone raising a hand to object and protect the body. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Jacob, and it's so sweet to share Ray's poem. He's always kind and sweet, among us with us. Thank you. And the cherry blossom the hickeys, so cool. Hi, Gail Jepford.
Yay.
Was a regular participant in the free poetry workshop RHINO hosted at Evanston Public Library and RHINO Reads series. RHINO editors are so impressed with her talent. Why are you laughing? Her skills as a professional librarian and her warmth and generosity that we asked her to join the team as associate editor, which she graciously accepted. Gail remains active to this day, helping us to read submissions with endless care and thoughtfulness. Just as she continued to write and publish the poetry collection, ranging from the themes of bodily pain to ecstatic poems about visual art and artists. Give a warm welcome to Gail.
Thank you, Naoko. Thank you, everyone else who made this possible. The true story is that they were not looking for some librarian. They were looking for someone to do the database, which was massive. And somebody let Virginia know at a workshop I attended that maybe I could do the database. So she called Ralph. Ralph called me. I joined, but the database work did not last very long. So they had to find someone else. It was one of the best decisions that I ever made to join RHINO. I feel like I have a second family. I joined in 2013, and I'm so glad I'm a part of that family. And J. Bob has become my brother from another mother. I chose to read narrative poems today, and many of them are older because newer ones maybe not quite so uplifting, but I've had, in my lifetime, 15 physical homes, I think. So when I started thinking about what home was, like, I guess it would have to be people, whether they be relatives or friends or strangers. And I guess it's a good thing that I came to poetry because I have a much longevity in my family. My grandparents lived very tough, long lives. My favorite died at 72 because he was a coal miner, but the others lived to 89, 93, and 96. Wow. And my father just passed away a couple of years ago at 101. Woo! So I have a lot of time to write poetry for him. But over the years, when you see people come and go in your life, you begin to realize that safety and comfort are extremely important as you morph into new versions of yourselves and new roles. So I guess that's how I'm approaching the reading today. I came to love, the first poem is called Jeopardy. It's an old one, but I came to love geography from a professor in college and have a great deal of respect for world cultures from reading literature. But I learned the map itself of the world from struggles with playing my brother in the game of Risk. Jeopardy. I'll cream you. I can hear my brother almost hiss, suckering my sister and me into playing Risk, a game of world domination. Armies, slim pieces of wood, pink and yellow, blue and green, divvied up swiftly so he can launch his offensive. Each turn, a new attack. Ontario to Greenland, Kamchatka to Yakuch. The thrill of captured triumph in his javelin eyes, taking countries, continents, until he owns the board, owns us. Alliances, truces, treaties, not in his victory vocabulary. His the game of crush the sibling. It's not checkers, but he'd welcome king me, king me. The next poem is actually is a more recent poem about my dad, who I admired for the fact that at, 98, he went to live in a, assisted living place and made a go of it for 3 years, which is not hard to be transplanted, so. He has stopped shaving every day, age and balance catching up. I tease that maybe he should grow a beard. He never had one, he says. In the past months, my father's need grows. I surprise him when I ask, "Do you want me to shave you?" He doesn't say no. I have never shaved a man. He'd had my brother buy him an electric razor, now necessary after having shaved his face and jowl more than 29,000 times in the 80 years since facial hair and the army said he was a man. I shave him. He moves his chin, like I've seen him do in the mirror from childhood. I stretch the skin to smooth it. It feels awkward, clumsy. He doesn't complain. Why have I always preferred the stroke and cushion and dash of bearded men? When a line of fine-grayed whiskers drop from the blade onto his shirt collar, I brush it off. He is more than the husk of his body still. The next one is called Linens, and actually the next two poems really show me how important home is, how important it is to find home in other places. And that was true for my mom, who was one of the biggest troopers I know in terms of the end of her life. But we were graced with this woman whose name is Shelley Solars, and I called her the Bather. My mother relished clean, her druthers fresh linens daily, thread count rising. She never missed a shower or a chance to wash a load of clothes. Likely, we were the most laundered family on Boomer Drive. Pants and shirts and socks barely worn, spun with Tide. Tags snipped, new garments agitated in the machine before they touched our skin. Guest towels plucked from the rod, shower steam barely vaporized. When cancer pressed in, her fierce independence fell to the floor with the towel. Then the bather came. My mother longed to climb in the tub to shower. The bather made this ritual happen. My mother let her, this bather to the Queen of Sheba. Too soon, the bather shouldered bottles of water to wash my mother's silvered hair in bed, to sponge her failing flesh. I sat on the chair as the sun elbowed its way into the room and followed the rhythm of the bather's hands in reverence, a waft of cherry blossoms in winter. My mother's body stiff, absorbed in holding on. I witnessed her soften, melt into Egyptian cotton. And the last poem is a poem I don't know, I thought of this week. It's never been published, and I don't think I've read it anywhere, but this person I never met again, but met them on a limo ride home from the airport. I wish I had gotten his name. Buddha-ish. He seems all smiles from his bald pate to the shaved bowl of his chin. Is that a bow before he lifts my bag into the trunk and smooths the limo door shut behind me? Cocoons me in the innards with the purple fiber optics shedding light on cut crystal glasses. How long have you been working for H&M, I always ask. He had come from the Philippines on a green card with 6 children, all born before his wife came to America to work as a doctor. He stayed home to father and farm. One year, she flew home on New Year's Eve. You must come. This is our chance. Green cards for all of us, opportunity, years of waiting. She'd been persuasive, though he'd wanted to stay where each morning before first light, he would sidle up to his water buffalo, the silhouette of the mountain in front of them. He wheels my bag to the door, and we linger on my porch while he paints the fields at sunup. Each stage of crop raising, from seedings to maturity, a new ribbon of color, emerald green to umber. His eyes glisten. On leaving, as he bows, such hope in his light.
Thank you, Gail. We become very close, and she's like my older sister. So I'm so grateful for this friendship. Thank you, Gail. Our next leader, the mesmerizing poet, playwright, and performer, Kimberly Dixon May, has a PhD in interdisciplinary theater drama from Northwestern University. So, as a former resident of Evanston, Kimberly attended RHINO events in the 2010s, and we published her work in RHINO 2015 and 19. When her poem was run up for our annual Founders Contest, shortly thereafter we invited Kimberly to join the editorial team, which she kindly agreed to. We could not have made a better invitation. Kimberly brings interdisciplinary skills and a gift to the team. And the RHINO would not be the same without her. So please welcome Kimberly Dixon May.
Thank you. I'm going to cradle this laptop as if my life depended on it. And thank you, Ralph, as always, for adjusting everyone's mic. Yes, RHINO was my first home when I was trying to hold on to the last thread of my own creativity after a doctoral program at a certain university that's located in Evanston. So thank you, RHINO, and all of the people I've met along the way. So as now Close said, I write both poetry and plays. This poem is originally from 2013, but eventually inspired a 10-minute play that was recently produced at the Gift Theater, so I thought that would be fun to start with. It's entitled Summer, Supermoon, West Side, Chicago. And in case you don't know, supermoon is bigger and brighter than other full moons. Magic happens in the sky to make it happen. One occurred in Chicago, June 22nd, 2013, the second night of summer. Summer being known in some neighborhoods as shooting season.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Supermoon in the slat between the next door roof and our side window. Bright as a security light, triggered by some perpetual motion, maybe a constant spinning. Big as a streetlight, big as blood on the sidewalk, big as a police copter beam. Bridge moon, nonpartisan moon, spanning the border between universe and home, crossing territories, desegregating the sky, our window to a neighbor's roof. Port wine stains of cloud or smoke, indecisive surface, unclear complexion, bright as a polished hubcap, bright as a future, bright as a diamond ring, bright as gun flash or firecracker, big as held breath, midnight moon, mirror moon, steady as a husband's sleeping, silent as an empty driveway, silent as the wait for his car in the driveway. A little lighter. This next one is also about home, a literal home. When one moves into an old home that is not nearly as beautiful as this, things happen. The title is Another Reason She Does. It is in the voice of the homeowner who has convinced someone to move in with him. You got your wrinkled floors and scarred paint and pimpled walk, running a tab at Home Depot like it's your neighborhood bar. Don't matter. One winner. So go ahead, scheme, pout your door jamb lips, let wood wedge in the frame 1 minute, then hinge the next like a tooth behind a busted lip, because I know how to tangle. Pull that door out, hang it back, check it, out again, sand it, hang it, check it, out again, this side, other side, buy new hinges, reline the frame, hang it, check it again, this side, that side, inside, outside. She says it could be a play, off some guy Beckett, smiling. But me still, fix it, hang it, check it again, inside, outside, check it, check you, weapons ready to hunt everything wrong like coeds in the woods, and me with a grudge, in, out, now you see me, now you don't, but I'm coming, and we'll get a professional to end it if I have to. So when you open a hole on your back porch and let some hairy thing in there, ya ho, let it scritch in the wall behind our damn headboard so that thing wakes my wife in the wall behind our headboard, so bad she goes looking, finds proof that thing is coming in and out like it pays rent, and you damn sure know anybody not her pays rent. Well then, I will follow her pointed finger, step up strong, look in, bang your scabby wall to roust it, and since it's already gone, walk away bored, like Superfly. Then come back armed, nails, hammer, metal sheet, and a cup of white powder. I can see it in her face, making sense except for the powder. Still learning how not to ask all her questions. So I move extra slow, sprinkle extra careful so she can watch, torn, and expecting some frothy dead thing there in the morning. And then across her face, fine, just hope he knows who will be cleaning it up. And I feel a smile coming, have to turn my shoulder to not give it away. She'll catch on like you, house. No gloves or mask, open flour sack in the kitchen, I'm dusting for prints. Bringing animal control, shutting you and your friend down, and then on to the next thing in your tricky rooms. Try your best, I'm still gonna win. This last piece, I was so honored and surprised and honored to have it included in 2019 issue. It is entitled Ceramic Tiles Echo More Voices Than Are There. Ceramic tiles echo more voices than are there. And it was prompted by a 2018 NPR story about Monticello, as we know, former home of Thomas Jefferson and current tourist attraction. In that report, they were saying that they were converting what had been a men's room for 50 years back into the room it was originally, the room of Sally Heming, Jefferson's slave and lover/victim. Ceramic tiles echo more voices than are there. 1. Nothing but smooth, white surfaces, easy to clean, and look clean, easy. 2. The pipe sweat from the Charlottesville heat that stomps in uninvited. They stand trickling, drops separated from the forced water, separated from that water, but of that water, children of that water. 3. A woman's room, then a man's room, then a men's room. Always a place where someone could stomp in, fiddling his zipper, and no one would say a word. 4. The bed must have been cornered on the coolest wall, the cushion thicker than her kin's for his comfort. 5. The man of brilliant invention, yet there that room was. His descendants, graced with his brain's traces, yet all they could think of in 1968, was to dress that room in whiteness and send men through to relieve their genitals, still hot from walking the grounds. 6. They want praise for making it her room again, while they try not to say the word. Praise for giving her attention, as if it finally gives her power, as if she would have no room if not for them and all they built, which she wouldn't. 7. She might tell them, in a white man's house, attention is not power. Their urges, desperate, fumbling, bent on release, are what bring you their notice. Might say, it is better to be left to inch by unnoticed, as this room has inched by since 1968. So that even when visitors chose which history, genteel parlor games, or the truth, they would still walk in, exposed, unknowing, right into the thing they'd worked so hard to avoid, while a spider weaved a corner above their heads.
RHINO editors get together to see Kimberly's play, and it was amazing. Also, we shared the news in a workshop by email, so please subscribe RHINO Poetry's emails and newsletter. We want to welcome Evanston residents and prize-winning poet, John McCarthy. We first published John's work in RHINO 2015, the same issue as one of the Kimberly's poems, and he was also another regular at the reading series. We invite him to join the editorial team in the 2010s, and he continued to serve as a senior editor. John teaches part-time at Northwestern University, mentoring undergraduates, as well as his fellow RHINOs. We also love him for bringing pizza, in-person working meetings and retreats. Let's hear some applause for John McCarthy.
Thank you, Naoko. Thank you, Virginia. Thank you, Evanston History Center, and everyone for making it out on this evening tonight. Yeah, I was really excited to join RHINO back in 2018. I had just moved to Evanston full-time, and I, after grad school, and ended up in a corporate role, and the language I was encountering every day was about circling back on strategic initiatives to maximize ROI. and I was like, where is the real words? And then Rhino was like, come read poems, and I was like, oh, poems about like death. Now I'm home now. That's good. I'm really thankful and grateful to all of them and all of that. So I wasn't going to read from Scared Violent Like Horses, which is available there, but Jacob earlier said that we should honor our past work, so I suppose I'll read a poem from it. I hate to do this to Chris, but he lied to you. This is not a happy poem. I did not. This is so sorry to make you out. Sorry to do. Scared Violent Like Horses. I was too young to call him a friend, but I had a classmate once who snuck up behind a horse, and now his body is made of a long time ago. He is the quiet space in my memory where he never sat next to me again. Back then, everyone I ever called a friend held fire in their fists when they talked to me. Their fists were dingy, grime-covered, and grease-slick, as if they were made of horsehair, as if they were untamed and lonely, galloping and wind-swollen. We didn't know how to talk about loss, so we made each other lose. We went to fields to see who could take the most damage. We went to fields that smelled like the boy who became an empty space on a Tuesday morning a long time ago. Now, because I'm scared of time and how it moves, I look down at my fist that didn't always want to, but have hit so many friends that the broken knuckles look like bruised magnolias. Listen to me, please. When I knock or bang on the table or door and beg for attention, please. I don't know how to ask for forgiveness. I don't know how to let anything go. I don't know how to say anything else about the boy who had a buzz cut and a flat head, the boy who was kicked in the face by a horse and died looking up at the sky. The boy's father must have found his son with a crushed face, and while running back to the house with his own son in his arms, must have said something raging and spiteful to God. This memory is my starting point when I think backward and apologize for all our fists coiled tight as key rings. How could we not break the mirror we look at in the morning? How could we not swing at the different versions of our faces staring back between the fissures? The hurt and mangled parts of us loved the blood-dried brown on our skew-balled knuckles. And we had nightmares of being reined in. We needed someone to help us change. We needed someone to force us into confronting the uselessness of our violence. But no one came, and our fists swelled unbridled and restless, wild and afraid. About almost 2 years ago, I got laid off from that corporate job. And I had a lot of time to spend looking at art. And so I guess I looked at a lot of Andrew Wyeth paintings, if anyone's familiar. He also had, his whole family was a family of painters, and he had 2 sisters, a son, and his father, who were all painters. And so I stared at them until I found another job. And the next 2 poems are in a book coming out called The Wyeth Ekphrastics. This poem's called Ephemera After the Rail Pile by Carolyn Wyeth. The only thing I have ever trusted is the slow growth of the red maple, because the people you care the most about are the easiest to lose. I walk the creek run where a train once passed through and stitched the earth with noise and steam. But all that commotion is now a rail pile, a mess of sticks in the shape of a pyre someone has crowbarred from the dirt. My life is nothing more than a few settled years that objectively moved forward. Would the dead be angry with me if they knew I never felt truly alive? Watch how quickly the rain. Watch how quickly the summer returns verdant and uncaring, replacing my life with chickweed and bittercress. This ruin of progress laughs at how quickly I can be brought in and out of awe, like the skinny branches of the fledgling beech tree flinching like a young deer abandoned in its first year. Even on quiet days, I think too much about what I've lost. Even on the best days, the hours get smaller. Heartache is the viridian color of late afternoon's disappearing light. I am unprepared for everything and everything that comes after. And this next one is called Faded Barn, Tattered Flag, after Patriot's Barn by Jamie Wyeth. Of the painted flag flecking on the barn's white side, its definition reverses in the flood-pooled reflection of Brandywine Valley. Of the 2 decades since, I now know a flag can weather like a barn. So can symbolism. and the muddy stars that fall from the great blue yonder like scattered seeds failing to germinate. I used to love to work the land, but I am ready to give it back to the constitution of sycamore trees and wooden glens that understand nothing of blood. Of the man and his wired brush who stood atop a ladder, I only want to speak to their quiet, rickety joy and listen to their paddock sorrow. I'm not sure anything else matters when I'm alone, in a wet, sodden field whose rolling hills frame the horizon like the faint heartbeat of a dying day. Ask me the meaning of a muraled flag, of what free action it can take. It can't wave or fly, only smear and fade like some last gleaming. Tomorrow is May 1st, and I don't know if you've been following what's supposed to be tomorrow, but we're not supposed to go to work, we're not supposed to go to school, and we're not supposed to shop tomorrow. So in that proud vein of red-hearted socialism, this last poem is called Pursue Leisure and Abolish Work. I want to sleep when I'm dead, too. But I also want to sleep now. And I also want you, darling. And I want to resist reaching into my pockets for symbols of my labored body to purchase things I can build myself. I don't want to buy convenience because I know how to make it by not doing anything. Oh, darling, let's mollycoddle each other until our names slip off of us like unwrapped ribbon. Let's hold our bodies against each other effortlessly and become as priceless as air. Oh, sweetheart, I don't want your greenback dollars. I don't want your watch and chain. I just want your love down in some secret holler where time is not its paper counterpart. Where we can downshift away from commodity and productivity and posting these images of our bodies to be bartered by strangers. Oh, sweet angel, I'm wide awake among the rocks and trees and creatures of so many shapes and sizes. Please don't go and love another or try to measure what we'd be worth. Please, take me back like a porch light left on. And let's make every day a weekend. Let's make every day as joyous as the high note of a fiddle and a yodel. Let's make the sound of two people skipping town in August. Oh, sunshine, let me show you the way the world can look if we run away now, a bright hill in the afternoon, and no reason to go anywhere. Thank you.
You for a long time, and I'm so energetic. John is always gentle and calm, and our CFO of RHINO. But his form is violently vicious, so it's I'm strongly recommended to read his books available over there about the Midwest. You probably feel he's kind of vicious uncle. It is impossible to find the words to express our love, praise, and gratitude for the final reader, Ralph Hamilton. An Evanston resident for more than 22 years, Ralph joined RHINO after being a regular at the Brother K reading with Chris Green. In 2008, RHINO underwent a leadership transition. And Ralph stepped in, or rather stepped up, to fill the void. His tenure as editor-in-chief marked a period of transformation for RHINO as a poetry journal. Ralph helped the collective to make changes and positions RHINO in national and international spotlights. And professionalized other practices and programming. To his credit, RHINO is now recognized as one of the top 100 literature magazines in the USA, currently ordered as number 42 by the leading ranking. He has mentored countless poets in Chicagoland and beyond, including myself. Give an enormous welcome to Ralph Hamilton.
Thank you. First, I just wonder if I might ask former editors who aren't reading today to stand. The thing about RHINO is it really is a collective, and it's a moving average of everybody who's involved. And you've seen some of those today, but I've never counted how many editors there have been over the years, but it's certainly well more than 100. And many have gone on to edit other journals, as well as one of the magical things that happens is often many of the editors didn't have a book until they came into RHINO. And in some cases, Gail produced 4 books while she was an editor at RHINO. Virginia, also Jacob, and many other editors, including me, many other editors who aren't here. And so Naoko's enormously kind, but the genius of RHINO is literally distributed among an amazing group of people who put in so much time every week and aren't paid for it. And I know I remain enormously grateful for that. First poem I'm going to read is called Grown Up. I'd like to think it didn't mean much, although he hadn't yet moved out when I peed in my ex-partner's toilet at 3 a.m. while he was away, or that I was merely marking my turf, dog style, albeit I didn't stand to aim the stream. I'd prefer to admit I'm middle-aged, with a peanut-sized bladder, and simply chose the closest pot. But his is farther. Fact is, I sat in the dark just to breathe his air, to be where he'd been, like a movie dog lying down at Boot Hill on his master's grave. Even as a kid, I worried what happened when a film crew left. Did the dog stay long? Who fed him? Was the mutt consoled by his cowboy's boots? I should have stolen one of my ex's shoes, slunk back to my room to tear it apart with my teeth. Except I couldn't afford new veneers without his insurance. Playing with my brother when we were boys, one of us would bark, "En garde," as we dueled while peeing above an open commode. We slashed our swords with swashbuckling panache. Blades splashed, sparked gold before being spent. Oblivious, then, that a grown-up, finally, must mop up the mess. This one's in 4 sections. It's called Harvest. 1. Some only boys, but all resembled old men peeing in a village latrine. Their buttocks trembling like the sad lips of camels at sup. That's when they shot them. Then lime, white as sugar. The bodies planted too shallow, it seemed, for trees or corn to sprout. 2. When wolves take a caribou down, they're casual butchers. ripping a shoulder, still running. They harry the hocks, strafe heaving ribs from a close, sedulous trot, then circle the beast like children playing musical chairs. 3. Mother recalls it rained that spring for the first time in years. Summer followed, rank and hot, the ground swollen, giddy with green. At harvest, months later, limbs, ears, no one went hungry. 4. Sometimes dismembered, the calf bleats a long time, its mother a witness nearby. No different than gunmen, really. The wolves bear no malice, while men leave the meat behind. This next poem came out of imagining that Sappho, the famous Greek poet, of which only little fragments remain, actually lived in Shogun Japan. It's called What Sappho Knew. Even if Sappho glided serenely through Edo's floating world, her white silk kimono spilling chrysanthemum petals, hushed in her wake. If her wont coursed to men, her ink to koans rather than verse, if Sappho died by blade instead of a leap, beyond oceans and epochs, despite differing tongues, still she would know the clear sound of water, graceful and lithe, how it flows like desire wherever it will, maunders through fields pierced by new rice, slips beneath walls and seeps into rock, where silent, while kneeling on moss-felted stones, Sappho would cup cool water to her lips, as if kissing a child or soothing a fever, just as with each infant grown too soon and each thing fiercely loved, how she would open her fingers to let water go. This be the last poem. It's called What Comes After. A kingfisher flares up from the trees, lodgepole and fur, soon disappears. Sweat feels cool against my backpack, clanking with cans of peaches and beer. I'm beginning to think that I'm glad I left, glad I've come. Across the glass gray lake, emerging from mist, a pair of Clark's grebes glides into view. If there's strain in their movement, it's nothing I see. Side by side, they drift closer, twins from a distance. What came before, I cannot know, nor what comes after. Whether the marsh goes salt, the grebe's eggs grow frail, the nearby owl dines on their young. Nor can I tell if the dance they've begun is a test the male will fail. As morning glows clear, their courtship gains pace, each motion a mirror, each sound repercussed. Maybe later they'll mate, though this too I won't see. Yet today, for a moment, I believe in movement. I believe in poise, in the twining of necks, the flaring of wings, in a perfect paired quick step across the blue face of water, in holding my breath while the far-fetched comes true. Thank you. And I just have to acknowledge Chris Green, because if not for Chris, I would never have known about RHINO. I'd probably never have written poetry. And it was Chris's generosity when I called him up and asked him if he'd be my tutor. And he laughed into the phone and said, okay, here's what we'll do. I'll buy you a cup of coffee once a month, bring me 10 poems. And so for 6 months, he bought me a cup of coffee, and I brought him 10 incredibly horrible, embarrassing poems. And Chris made fun of them in the best possible way. And then the sixth time we met, he came with a letter of recommendation to Bennington Low Residency Poetry Program. And he said, okay, you're going to Bennington. And I said, I'm too old. No, I'm not. And he said, yes, you are. And I did. And so I continue to owe a huge debt of thanks, because all these amazing editors and writers here, and the experience of learning from them and being taught by them, and them patiently dealing with all my, neurosis, trying to get the journal out, and then to see everything that Virginia and Naoko and all the current editors have done. It's stunning. So I'm enormously thankful.
Thank you, Ralph.
Weren't those some amazing poets? Amazing poets. Thank you, all of you. And I want to give another shout out to Alice George, who was the former editor-in-chief of RHINO. And another shout out to David Jones, who was managing editor, production editor for many years. And who else in the room have we failed to recognize? Sarah Jack, who's a current associate editor and off to NYU. And Moira. Right, Moira? Yeah, and Moira. Woo! All right, so I won't keep you too long, because there's refreshments, there's free merch, there's things to buy, books to buy, RHINOs to buy. But I wanted to tell you, if you enjoyed tonight, put on your calendar Saturday, May 23rd. That's when we are going to officially launch the print issue of RHINO 2026, which is the 50th anniversary issue. And that will be a free party at a cafe called Bad Coffee, where the coffee's actually great, in Ravenswood. And the features will be Timothy David Ray, Maya and Stephen Tariff, Temperance Agomo Hamadi, Matthew Buxton, Robin Sealer, and special guest stars Kathleen Rooney and Curtis L. Chrysler, who's the Poet Laureate of the state of Indiana. So please try to come out for that. Couple other little bragging things to say. I think that someone mentioned that Marcy Ray Henry couldn't be here because she was recognized by the Guild Complex as one of the 35 writers to watch, and they're having their honor ceremony of honors tonight, as was Ann Hudson, who's also with RHINO, as were 5 other current or former RHINOs. help me remember the name.
Megan,
MJ Deem, Matt Kelsey, Megan Malachi, Niall Lansana. I think I'm forgetting another name. That means that 7 out of the 35 writers to watch were current or former rhinos. That's 20%. So enjoy your time here at Dawes House, and thank you so much for coming.